Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
AITA for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex despite her having cancer as a teenager. When I was 4 and she was 3, my 25 female father married my step 23 sister's female mother. We've been living together for the most of our lives and consider ourselves a family. She and I were inseparably close. She was 14 when she was diagnosed with cancer and was hospitalized for almost 2 years. She has subsequently recovered completely. My parents were reasonably overprotective around that time. They also had a lot of questions for me. I gave up my extracurricular activities so I could acquire a job. The money went towards her medical expenditures and transport her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any pleasant things I did had to involve her. I did practically all of this voluntarily, with the exception of having to abandon my high school volleyball team, for which I had a little tantrum but was quickly reprimanded. And given the circumstances, I believe experiencing one emotional breakdown was very normal. Anyway, when I'm a junior in college, I meet my ex, whom we'll name Ben. We fell in love, blah blah blah, etc. When we graduated, he and I moved in together, so we've been living together for roughly 3 years. We were serious until I went into my bedroom in July and caught him my sister. I cut it off, tears were shed, he moved out and so forth. My sister apologized at first, but then she backtracked. I thought she was giving me space, but she phoned last week and asked if we could meet up. She said that she and Ben were in love and were just informing me as a courtesy before they began uploading images online. Disgusted, I left her alone in the restaurant and did not pay my half of the bill. She afterwards Venmo'd me requesting the money. She informed my parents, who summoned me to their home and expressed their displeasure with me for not supporting my sister's connection with Ben. They said that since she had cancer as a youngster, she never acquired good social manners and had difficulty meeting new people. I don't buy that, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and because we spent a significant amount of the time she was unwell together. By that reasoning, I should have poor social skills as well. They then warned me that if I didn't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they could have to stop communicating with me. I told them that I am also their daughter and that they should understand my point of view, but they insist that this is all about me being envious of her. I'll state unequivocally that I'm not envious of her. I'm not disappointed that Ben chose her over me. I'm saddened by the breakup and feel betrayed, but the Lord knows I don't want to be with a cheater. What irritates me is that my sister picked Ben over me. That she slept with Ben despite the fact that he and I were in a long-term, committed relationship, and that she continues to remain with him despite how much it hurts me. No one in my immediate family is talking to me anymore, and I'm receiving texts from aunts, uncles, and cousins calling me a jerk and a selfish. Edit. This has received a lot more attention than I anticipated, and I'm struggling to keep up, so if I don't say thank you, then thank you. I've been given a lot to think about. To be honest, although I felt bitter or sad about my adolescence, I've always believed that I did the right thing for my sister and my family. And it wasn't all bad. I was extremely close to my sister, and we tried to have as much fun as we could. But, as several of you pointed out, I didn't see it as a surrender of my parents' obligations or that they were wronging me. I certainly have a lot on my mind. Thank you once again for helping me feel less insane about everything. Update. There are times when you can only laugh. I just got off the phone with my cousin, who noticed this article and offered to clarify a few things. And I said, "Touché." He informed me that following my meeting with my mother, she went to his place and spoke with my aunt. And here's how it works. My sister is not only in a relationship with Ben, but she is also 4 months pregnant. That indicates she and Ben were for a longer period of time than I had anticipated. My parents are apparently so insistent that I forgive her since I'm already destroying their first grandchild's experience. That's right, I'm not as significant as my stepmom sharing pregnancy pictures on Facebook. This is where we are. Anyway, I phoned in ill for the remainder of the day and plan to consume a lot of beer. A lot of booze, for example. And then I start wondering what the heck I'm going to do. Story 2. I, 31 female, caught now XBF, 38 male, cheating on me with his XGF, 25F, and sleeping with other women. We've only been together for 8-9 months, but he claims that he no longer found me desirable and fell out of love with me early on in the relationship, but didn't want to break up with me. As I just said in the header, I am perplexed. I don't want people to question me whether I've gained weight, since that isn't the case. I've remained the same, with no alterations. I feel arrogant stating this, but I'm taken aback by his statement that he no longer finds me appealing. The first 3 months of the relationship were fantastic. Despite this, he spoke a lot about his ex, who has the same name as myself. I didn't think much of it at first, since I'm not the jealous sort. He also said that their 2-year romance ended disastrously, and that he no longer communicates with her. Then I realized he brought her up a lot, as well as a lot of other ex-girlfriends, so I told him it made me uncomfortable that he brings up his ex-girlfriends a lot. He recognized this, and the ex-talk subsided. After about 3 months, he grew more aloof and communicated less. When I told him I didn't feel prioritized, he blamed it on his hectic postdoc schedule, and the only way he proved he cared was by squeezing me into his calendar. I accepted it because I wanted him to succeed at work and assumed I would want the same if I were in his circumstances, and I thought I was being considerate of his needs. Communication and prioritizing deteriorated further. We began having less, but I honestly assumed it was because he was weary and fatigued from work. Why did I continue to be with him? Because it felt fantastic while we were together. He looked to be an excellent communicator, had a higher EQ than most males I dated, and we were able to do some enjoyable things together. So 2 months later, I ended up breaking up with him by text message. It took him a bit to respond, but he sent a beautiful reply saying he understands and is okay with it. I told him I needed to pick up a book I'd left behind, and he asked if I could do it the next weekend. I felt it was odd that he could just leave it with the front desk staff, but I didn't question it. Then I apologized for terminating relationship in such a casual manner by text and asked if we could meet for closure. He said yes because he wanted it. Instead of meeting where we had arranged, I had to go closer to his house since he had misplaced his belongings and couldn't readily go to me. I subsequently discovered that he went on a vacation to an island with pals, and his belongings were taken. I thought it was strange since he never mentioned it to me, but he's a spontaneous man, so I assumed it was a last-minute decision he made after I broke up with him. We spoke for 3 hours about how the relationship didn't work. Finally, I thought, oh, now that I understand where he's coming from, he continued to explain he's extremely busy and was concerned since he was receiving a lot of grant rejections, this may work. I communicated with him that I'm prepared to restart the relationship. We've just been apart for about a week, as long as we're both able to establish expectations of each other's needs, etc. He was all in. Fast forward after another 1-2 months, his conduct had not improved much. I was checking out and growing upset when I had an emergency surgery. When I informed him, he began to show me a slew of problems. Wonderful, I thought. When I arrived to the hospital, he came up and stayed with me the whole time. I hadn't even asked him to come, so I was thinking, yes, indeed. Finally, some good news. We intended to watch the game together when I recovered. He invited his poker buddies and wanted to bring one of my buddies as well. I stopped by his house before heading to the game and saw used condoms in his bin. When I asked him about it, since we don't use protection, he quickly lied and said, I don't use that garbage can. I was having none of it and shouted at him. After catching him lying many more times and seeing him sit in quiet in a pondering stance for 10 minutes, he informed me he was going to tell me everything today in between bouts. He also said that he wished he could have informed me sooner, but I was scheduled for surgery. He had slept with a female the weekend before my emergency surgery, it found out. This was also the point at which he informed me he no longer considered me appealing and had fallen out of love with me. He also sounded as though he wasn't sure why he wasn't feeling it with me and was concerned that something was wrong with him until he slept with this random female. I walked away because everything he said seemed like a lie. I discovered out a week later that he went on the island vacation with his ex-girlfriend rather than with friends. I contacted her, and thankfully she believed me and was willing to chat. I was shocked to learn how he treated her throughout the course of their 2-year relationship. She was 21-23 at the time, and he was 35-37, and I began to question whether he was a sociopath. He would shout at her, make her pay for everything, put her down, and do a slew of other things. I was shocked since it never went to this stage with me, but who knows what might have happened if I had remained longer. I discovered that he reconnected with her before I met him, and that he was up with her around the 2-3 month mark of my relationship with him. I also discovered that he was sleeping with 5 other women, so the entire penis not working is it me, or is it you tale is also nonsense. I hadn't talked to him in over a month when he wrote me a lengthy email apologizing in advance. He said that he had liked our time together and felt I was a terrific catch, but that he was no longer in love with me and didn't find me appealing, throwing salt on a wound. He also said that he should have broken up with me sooner, but he was too afraid to do so. He also wrote additional things that removed himself from accepting full responsibility for his heinous actions. So I'm not quite convinced. My coping mechanism is to attempt to understand people's motivations/psychology as much as I can in the hopes of being able to let go more and utilize lessons learned in future interactions. I'm not sure why this man wanted to keep me around if he didn't want with me and wasn't in love with me. Why did he return when he knew he had an out? Thank you ahead of time.